While millions of people are screaming at their TVs, painting their faces, and feeling emotionally destroyed because 11 strangers lost a game, there's a massive and growing group of people who simply don't care at all. And according to neuroscience, their brains might not just be different emotionally, they may actually be wired in a fundamentally different way. Stay with me, because what you're about to read might completely change the way you look at the sports-obsessed people in your life, and maybe even yourself. Here's the part almost no one talks about. Not caring about sports doesn't make you dull or passionless. It doesn't mean you lack excitement in life, and it absolutely doesn't mean something is wrong with you. But there is something interesting happening in your brain, something dramatically different from the 60% of Americans who follow sports religiously, and likely similar percentages around the world. Let's start with a simple but important question. Why do so many people care so deeply? Humans are wired to be tribal. For thousands of years, belonging to a group meant survival. Your tribe defended you from predators, helped gather food, shared protection, and ensured your existence. Fast forward to modern life, and sports are basically just updated tribes, but now with team colors, flags, chants, jerseys, and commercials. When someone watches their favorite team compete, their brain releases oxytocin, the bonding or connection hormone, the very same chemical that strengthens love between family members or close friends. Amazing, right? Their brain literally convinces them that these millionaire athletes, people they've never met, are part of their family. Now, this is where things get fascinating. People who don't obsess over sports often have what psychologists describe as weaker or lower tribal response systems. Their personal identity isn't strongly tied to a group label. They lean more toward individuality, self-direction, and internal motivation. They're more likely to think, I don't need a group identity to feel whole. I'm okay on my own terms. And there's science backing this up. A major 2019 study found that people with low sports interest expressed significantly less us versus them thinking. In simpler terms, they don't instantly hate another team simply because it's the opponent of the one they supposedly should support. But the story gets even more curious. What happens in the brain of a sports enthusiast during a game is genuinely intense. That buzzing, exciting feeling you get before opening a gift, that anticipation, is dopamine releasing in your brain. Sports fans get that hit repeatedly throughout a game. Every play, every possession, every second of tension is a mini dopamine lottery. It's literally addictive. Functional MRI studies have shown that watching your favorite team activates the same reward circuits triggered by gambling and other high-stimulation activities. And more importantly, it's the uncertainty, the not knowing, that makes it so gripping. Will they win? Will they choke? Will someone make a miracle play? That unpredictability keeps the dopamine flowing and the emotional stakes sky high. Psychologists call this intermittent reinforcement, the most addictive reward pattern known to science, the same one that keeps people glued to slot machines or compulsively checking their phones. The brain doesn't really care where the dopamine comes from, it just wants more. People who don't care about sports have reward systems that simply don't respond to competitive watching, and this difference may be partly genetic. Researchers at the University of Chicago found that specific differences in dopamine receptor genes can predict how strongly someone will enjoy or ignore spectator competition. Think about that. Your complete indifference to whether the Lakers, Liverpool, or Barcelona win or lose might literally be written into your DNA. But there's even more to it. Sports fans often experience something called BIRGing, basking in reflected glory. When their team wins, they proudly say, "We won." But when their team loses, they say, "They lost." Notice how the identity shifts. People who don't care about sports are far less likely to rely on this mental trick. Their sense of self doesn't fluctuate with external victories or failures. Their self-worth is more stable and less dependent on events completely outside their control. Now, before anyone starts attacking, this isn't about better or worse. It's simply about psychological difference, and that difference is worth understanding. Here's a twist. Sports fans often score higher on certain empathy measures. They emotionally invest in the struggles and triumphs of other humans, even if those humans are strangers wearing matching colors. Cheering is a way of practicing caring. So why don't non-fans feel that same empathy? It comes down to empathy allocation. Humans only have so much emotional bandwidth. People who don't follow sports may invest their emotional caring elsewhere, in personal relationships, creative work, social causes, art, community, education, nature, or personal goals. A 2021 study found that individuals with low sports interest scored significantly higher in openness to experience and appreciation of beauty in music, art, and ideas. Their emotions aren't absent. They're simply connected to different sources of meaning, reward, and belonging. And here's another layer. For some people, not liking sports isn't neutral. It's protective. Maybe they were bullied during school athletics. Maybe they were excluded socially. Maybe they felt pressured to like something they never connected with. Or maybe they just genuinely never understood why adults yell at television screens over a ball. Both experiences, boredom and wounded history, are valid parts of the story. But now we reach the core of why sports fans and non-fans often struggle to understand each other. It comes down to how humans experience meaning. Sports fans see narrative, underdogs, legends, rivalries, dynasties, dramatic collapses, heroic comebacks. The thrill comes from unpredictability and real-time consequence. People who don't care look at the same thing and see randomness. They might think, why invest emotions in something I can't control, involving strangers, with no connection to my actual life? And that's a fair point. Neither perspective is wrong. They are just different philosophical strategies for making life meaningful. One person finds epic storytelling through a championship season. Another finds it in a book, a scientific discovery, a relationship, a startup, a painting, or a personal quest. Psychologists frame this difference as parasocial investment, emotional ties to people who don't know you exist, versus direct engagement, putting your energy where you matter. Sports fans build emotional bonds one-directionally. Non-sports people prefer a mutual participation. Both are valid ways to navigate existence. Mihai Csikszentmihalyi, the researcher who defined flow, discovered that deep absorption, that timeless zone where you lose track of hours, shows up in countless activities. For some, it's watching sports. For others, it's woodworking, reading, gaming, programming, writing, gardening, training, or creating. One more twist. People who don't follow sports frequently report feeling more present in their own lives. They're not outsourcing emotional intensity to athletes. They're living their own highs, lows, and personal battles. There's something quietly radical and maybe admirable about that. So what does all this mean? If you don't care about sports, you are not lacking anything. You're not missing a critical human experience. Your mind, emotions, tribal wiring, and reward systems simply run differently, and that's completely okay. So next time someone asks, "Did you watch the game?" and you truly couldn't care less, remember this. You're not broken. You're not boring. You're just answering life's meaning in your own way, playing a different game entirely. And your game might, just maybe, have even higher stakes. If you found value here, please subscribe, like the video, and turn on the notification bell. Your support means a lot. Thank you for watching this video until the end. If you found this video helpful, stay with us and share it with someone who isn't interested in watching sports.